when you think about it, and how much land we have, like how much acres I have. Of course, we don't have much where I come from. So knowledge is important. You've got to acquaint yourself with everything that you want to understand in your area of expertise. If you want to become a university lecturer, start doing research. Start studying a lot so that you can get something to tell your students, or else they will not raise your pay. So knowledge, one thing that I want to leave you with is that knowledge is only potential power. It can only be important if you put it into practice. A lot of knowledge will just make you a warehouse of information. But if you put it into practice, it is going to change your life. Ladies and gentlemen, the third anchor of success is faith. And when I talk faith, some people may start feeling like I'm getting preachy. Let me talk about faith as the third anchor of success. This strong belief in your ability to achieve, this strong belief in your ability to make it in your career, this is the thing I'm talking about. When you look at your society, when you look at the society, why is it that there are always few people at the top? When I was in college, I was taught by a certain professor called Professor Njeru. So Professor used to make a joke and used to use the university structure. He used to tell us that when you look at the university, there is one chancellor and chairman of the council, one vice chancellor, several deputy vice chancellors, several principals of colleges, many deans of faculties, many chairmen of department, professors. Then he would say that at the bottom, there are thousands and thousands of students and cleaners. Of course, we didn't choose to like the joke. At that point, we also knew that when we grow up and become professors, we will use that joke in class. The point is that there are few people at the top and many people at the bottom. Today, if I may ask you, which is easier to become? Is it to become a president or a bus driver? I know that may get quite complicated, but in my analysis, it is easier to become president than to become a bus driver. That gets controversial, isn't it? But when you want to become president, you realize there are only few people to beat. When you want to become a bus driver, any standing man will line up in the queue. So if I want one president and you want one bus driver, the interviews for the bus drivers will take longer. You may get to retirement before you are interviewed, isn't it? If you want to become president, there are only few people to beat. When you look at our scenario, in 2007, how many people did Raila Odinga had to beat? He only had, okay, the serious contenders, and I hope I don't get quoted for this. He only had to beat Mwai Kibaki and Kalonzo Musyoka. In America, as big as the country is and as rich as guys are there and educated as they are, Barack Obama had only one person to beat. All of us have got potential to become, but we don't become because of fear. We don't become because we don't believe we can become. There are few people who believe that they can become something. Look at the definition of faith. The dictionaries will talk about faith as that strong belief in your abilities, that strong belief in your abilities to become something. What does the Bible talk of faith? The Bible talks about faith in Hebrews chapter 11. And it says, faith is substance, the assurance of things hoped for and conviction of things not seen. That you can believe in something you have not even seen. You can believe in your abilities when you are at the kindergarten and believe that you can become a professor somewhere in your life. It is about believing, even without seeing. Of course, there are those who insist that seeing is believing. But think about it. Must you see in order to believe? Have you ever seen electricity now that you pay the bills every month? You may be doubting whether electricity exists, but the best way to try it is just go and stick your finger in the socket and your doubts will quickly disappear, isn't it? You will not doubt anymore. You can learn to believe even without seeing. You can learn to believe in your potential, and you've got to start right now. Once you're aware of yourself and once you've got information, now you need to believe that you can launch out for something worthwhile in the world. And that is what we are doing. That is what every one of us has to do. From today, develop an inner belief in your ability to succeed. It doesn't matter how many people will tell you you can't. So you've got to believe in your abilities to succeed. And that is the only way you can be successful in everything that you do. Another thing that I will tell you before we finish with the anchor, faith. It is that the size of your faith will determine the size of your achievements in your life. The size of your faith is very important. If your faith is small, you may achieve little. Of course, when you hear about little faith, people talk about Peter, the character in the Bible. We happen to share the name with that gentleman. But one thing that I also have to let people know about Peter is that I really appreciate that person. I think my mother was brilliant and she gave me the name. Unlike Jesus, he's the only other person who walked on water. Okay, people may talk about him as a character of little faith, but I normally say that he is a character of little faith, but the other dudes that were in the boat were guys of no faith. They could not even launch. They only sat there listening to him being lectured about having little faith. But them themselves, they had no faith. At least you've got to have some faith to launch out. But the size of your faith will determine the size of your achievement. If today in your prayers you only believe that God can only give you a nice apartment to rent, and you go and pray for a nice apartment to rent, another person is believing that he can get enough money to build apartments to lease out to other people. So when he goes out to pray, God give me money to construct apartments. The neighbor is praying, God give me enough money to rent an apartment. So God answers both prayers. Everybody is happy at the end of the day, but of course one is actually happier. Isn't it? If happiness is to be measured sometimes with your bank account, which really counts at times, it is going to be like that. One person will have done more simply because of his belief in himself. Belief is very important. And as we wind up the third anchor of success, I'll leave you with words that are said by a gentleman in the video The Secret, a video that I love so much. A guy called Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith. He says that you can begin right now to feel healthy. You can begin right now to feel prosperous. You can begin right now to feel the love that is surrounding you, even if it is not there. When you believe that, what will happen is that the universe will correspond to the nature of your song. The universe will correspond to the nature of your inner feeling, and it will manifest that because that is what you feel. That is what you believe in. If you believe in being a happy person, if you believe in being a successful person, that is what will start manifesting in your life. Wait until you tell people you're bored and you feel it even within your guts. Feel it. Feel strength. Feel that you are a hopeful person, that you are a successful person. Now we have talked about you having self-awareness. You having a lot of information from newspapers, from friends, from everywhere. And the right information, of course. We've talked about you having faith. Now let us look at the next thing. We'll talk about vision. Vision, the ability to see in the mind, the ability to see something, an image in the mind, even before the real thing has happened. And the best example of vision is what I've seen about an African antelope. I asked a guy about the antelope. I was asking, why doesn't the antelope jump out? Because they have just confined it with a very short wall. He told me it can jump over 10 feet high on normal occasions. But if you confine it in a wall that it cannot see the other side, it can't jump, even if the wall is 4 feet. And don't think you're very different from the antelope. You can't start something if you can't feel where you're headed. If you can't feel the end, if you can't know the purpose of what you're doing, you will never start anything. For you to get started, you've got to have a clear picture of where you're headed. You are starting your school, you're starting your college in first year because you can see the graduation, you can see the career ahead, you can see all that ahead. You can see financial independence ahead. That is why you're going to college. And if you can't see that, you will say, I won't go anywhere. So vision is very important. It's very important for us to have a clear picture of what we want to become. When you look at these people who build, structural engineers, they will tell you that they can't start constructing a building until they have received a blueprint from the architect. That is the diagram that shows them how the building is supposed to be. These are gentlemen who will look at a forest and they will see the staircase spiraling all the way to master bedroom. They will see the bedrooms, they will see everything, they will see the door, they will see the garage when the lot is still a forest. These are the people who create a picture before the foundation is laid. You have to have a clear picture in your mind of that which you want to achieve. And if you can't see it in here, you can't hold it with your hands. If you can't see it in your mind, you will not be able to get started. You've got to have a vision. What does the Bible say in Proverbs chapter 29? Where there is no vision, the people perish. When the father doesn't have a vision, the people perish. What did Antoine de Saint tell us? Is that it's only with the mind that you can see rightly. That what is essential is invisible to the eye. It is only with your mind that you can see rightly. Money, opportunities, and success are invisible to your eyes. They are only visible to the mind. When you look at people crossing the streets, what comes in your mind? You're just like, these people are just so boring. There are so many. Where are they coming from? The person with a business mind looks at those people and sees enough demand for water, enough demand for food, enough demand for shoes, enough demand for public transport. He is seeing the success. And somebody's talked about when a victor and a victim are walking on sand. The victim looks at sand as dust, but the victor sees material that can be used to build castles. Some two guys were approached when they were building. They were approached by one guy and they were asked, "What are you doing?" The one guy was very furious. "You can't see I'm laying blocks." He moved on and asked the other guy, "What are you doing?" This guy told him, "I'm building a church." You see, the one is laying blocks, the other one is building a church. One is seeing the building complete and the building holding worshippers. The other one is just seeing himself as a guy who is laying blocks. It is very unfortunate. You've got to have a mental picture. You've got to have a picture of exactly what you want in your life. You've got to see it. You've got to see the possibilities. Because vision is your blueprint. It is what guides you. If you have the wrong blueprint, you will go nowhere. You've got to see correctly that which you want to achieve. We've talked about having self-awareness as the first anchor of success. We've talked about having a lot of information on what you want to achieve. We've talked about having faith and having a vision. Now you need this one. This is important. It is a handle that you must jump. Commitment is our fifth anchor of success. And ladies and gentlemen, what is commitment itself? Commitment is willingness to work hard. Commitment is willingness to give your all, time and energy. Commitment is having that inner desire, to having an agreement within yourself that you're going to do everything possible to achieve that which you want to achieve in your life. When a lady is walking in the streets, she is admired by so many men, so many guys may admire her and say, "She looks like a good lady, she looks like a good lady." But so many years down the line, the lady ends up as a wife to one of the admirers, isn't it? Now, ladies and gentlemen, the difference between those who want and those who get is called commitment. Everybody would want success. Everybody would want to live in Runda and Lavington. Everybody would want to drive a Porsche car. Everybody would want to be president. How many would not want? Everybody would want so many good things. But the difference between those who want and those who get can only be summed up with only a single word: commitment. It is the difference between stating your wish list and really desiring something and working for it. Commitment is willingness to pay the price. A story is told of one guy who accidentally fell over a cliff. And he was hanging, and the ocean water, it smells funny because of the salt. So the water was looking at him from beneath and telling him, "Come, young man, we are going to swallow you." And he was definitely a desperate man. So this gentleman, when he was hanging there, he started crying, "God, come and help me. God, come and help me. God, come and help me." Then a voice came somewhere from heaven and told him, "This is God. Do this. Release what you are holding." The young man was holding on a rock. You know what was heard from the young man? The next thing is there someone up there else who can help? Success has to do with your interest in releasing that which you have, releasing that you are holding, your ability to take risk, your ability to lose something in order to get something. That is what is called commitment. Sometimes you don't have money, you don't have capital, but at least you have your energy and time. You can give that one out for you to get something. If you want to get something without